believe in as well.
Yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic. Each sport has its own unique dynamic, I think, when it comes to that. Of the three that I cover closely, baseball, the job of the manager, I think, is to create an atmosphere, a clubhouse atmosphere in which everyone can thrive because of the long nature of the sport and they're together every single day. In football, the X's and O's and the strategy are such an enormous part of what they do. And then basketball is sort of like a hybrid, an unusual hybrid of the two. Yeah. I would say this, look, just for myself. The New York Knicks, prior to the arrival of Tom Thibodeau 5 years ago, were, for 20 years, they were worse than a laughingstock. They were something that they were an irrelevance. There was like a vacuum where they had previously been. And he changed that through his basketball knowledge, through his dedication, through his understanding. So if some of his methodology is a little bit dated, if some of what he does rubs a few players the wrong way, personally, I think you'll live with that based upon what he has done. This is a franchise that hadn't sniffed what they have done since in his tenure in a very long time. And so it rubs me the wrong way that 3 days later, because he benched Cat for the fourth quarter of a game 2, or wherever it is that he made somebody mad, or he played, God help us, he played everybody in all these games, that this is the reason that they needed to fire him. But it's not my decision to make. So on it, go ahead, Monica, I can tell you want to jump in.
I think, Greeny, I can appreciate that sentiment. And I do think that widely it is, to JB's point, a lot of respect for what was built. But I think, unfortunately, this obviously has a negative connotation because a man is out of his job. But I do think at some point you can outgrow one another mutually. And so, yes, I get it. You are right. Tibbs deserves a ton of respect. Great basketball mind, all of that. But I do think, to a degree, this is sort of the life cycle. And I don't know that it's all bad in terms of the opportunity to optimize this group differently and really chase championships.
Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to say is, like, what's happening now in the NBA is there are teams that are being run by what perception is instead of basketball reality, right? As coaches, we live in basketball reality. And when you look at basketball reality, Tibbs did a heck of a job and deserves to help move this group forward. A lot of things happen, voices from the outside, the perceptions of fan bases, all those noises are starting to impact decisions that these front offices and ownership's making.
And it's a little louder in New York, isn't it? A little louder. Now, I'll say this. When you get to a place like this, and as you just perfectly said, what Tom Thibodeau has done here in his tenure, in his 5 years, and what they've done even the last 3 years, we haven't seen this since the 90s. It's been a long time since the Knicks have not just been relevant, but been this good. And what you have to be careful of going forward, it's like that game Jenga. You take the wrong piece out, the whole thing could fall down. So the next move is a critical one to make sure you get it right.
Not only that,
the standard for the next coach. The bar is 50 wins and the conference finals at worst, or else it's considered a failure.
That's the point. I mean, you don't make this move. You made this move because you believe that Tom Thibodeau is the horse that brought you to water, but you could not make it drink, or whatever the healthy expression I'm trying to use is. You know what I'm trying to say. And so the next guy damn well better make it drink.
Yep.
Right? Because if this is a move that tells us that the people who run the Knicks, for whatever reason, and if those people are the players, then that's the way the world we live in today, believe this team should have won the championship, or at least been in the finals. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not convinced this team did not max out everything it was capable of and more. Wendy, let me give you a quick final word here, and then we're going to come back on this a little later in the hour and talk about who might be next in line. Windman, go.
Yeah, I think there's a perception clearly from the organization that you are right, Greeny, that this team should still be playing. I disagree with that. I think the better team won the Eastern Conference Finals, and I will just point out, between Jeff Van Gundy, the last time they reached the Eastern Conference Finals, and this year, the Knicks had 13 head coaches before they got to Tom Thibodeau. Keep that in mind.
Yes, I mean, that's the point. You look at what they were, you look at what he made them, this becomes... Everyone thinks, oh, what a great job this is. Look how good the players are. Be a little careful what you wish for. We're going to dive into that as we continue, but we have other things to get to as well. Great football squad today for Football Conversation. A situation in Steel Town. The solution is simple. The question is, will Pittsburgh push the panic button? We dive into that. Plus, also from college today. The Arch era begins at Texas.
that, look at the monster year he had last year. I expect him to be even better.
Now, a lot of high hopes in Washington, and then let's go to the AFC. Would you be shocked if the Steelers make a trade for Kirk Cousins?
Speaking of having no hope, so with the Steelers, I would be shocked if they went after Kirk Cousins, and here's why. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make financial sense. They have put all their eggs as far as we're going to wait for Aaron Rodgers. We're going to slow play it, see if he comes along. Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause. So unless Kirk Cousins says, you know what? Send me to the AFC North where I can get my head bashed in all the time against the Ravens and the Browns and all these teams, then I just don't see it making sense.
So here's, I would push back on that a little bit, which is to say, if I'm Kirk Cousins, it seems like a place where they need a starting quarterback if Aaron isn't there. And they have, like they traded for DK Metcalf. Yep. They've got some pieces. They obviously have a really good coach and the stability of the organization we're accustomed to. But all of that is predicated upon Aaron Rodgers just continuing to wait. Lewis, what is your reaction to the fact that here we are, June, whatever it is, and we still don't have anything from Aaron?
Well, I mean, look, obviously Pittsburgh has put themselves in this position by being willing to continue to wait for him. Obviously, they also know that with every organized activity that he misses, that is one less chance for him to kind of ingratiate himself to the rest of the locker room, learn the offense, really kind of develop chemistry, all the kind of things that, you know, I think sometimes maybe people get tired of talking about because it's an intangible thing that you can't really quantify, but you damn sure can quantify when the season starts. And all of a sudden, wide receiver and quarterback are on the same page. They're arguing on the sideline. Relationships start to fracture. See, those are the things that right now you're just kind of, you're making the likelihood of that happening increase exponentially every single day that he's not there. And really, at this point, I mean, I don't even know if it even makes sense anymore. I don't know if it'll give them the return that I said early on back in February. Like, he is the kind of guy that they actually need. He needs Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh needs him. It made sense back then. I don't know if now they'll get their return on investment.
And this isn't the Jets last year or 2 years ago where it's this desperate franchise and, oh, the savior, Aaron Rodgers. Last 2 months saying, no update, no update. Guess what? I texted someone this morning. The text was, no update.
And their OTAs are next week. And so here's the bottom line of it. Here's what concerns me if I'm the Steelers or I'm a fan of the Steelers. In order to be what they would want him to be a great quarterback in the NFL, much less to do so at the age of 40, soon to be 41, requires a bordering on maniacal dedication to making it work. That's what we saw from Tom Brady in Tampa. What I'm about to say is not meant as a criticism of Aaron Rodgers. He's a 40, almost 41-year-old man who can do so many different things in his life if he chooses to. Yeah. He is not right now not behaving as though he has that maniacal dedication to making this work. And if he doesn't, again, that doesn't make him a bad person. No. People like him, don't like him, doesn't make any difference to me. But I would be thinking to myself, he doesn't want this enough. That's what I would be worrying about. Yeah. This isn't the only thing in his life, which is what it would have to be for this to work the way they want it to work.
Yeah, clearly there are other things that take precedent. He's got other priorities right now that he feels as though, look, in his mind, whether you agree with them or not, and I don't know, does anybody know what they are? I don't know what they are. I've never heard publicly about anything, you know, as far as what he is dealing with that is causing him to push the timeline out. But yeah, you're right. He's not all in on it right now. And you know what happens? See, this is the thing that's most important to me. The other players see this, and you see it starting to trickle out in terms of the kind of comments that they're making. And look, I'm just telling you, when you're playing with someone, especially a quarterback, who you feel as though is not fully committed and is not all in, I'm telling you at some point it'll cost you. And it won't cost you once. It'll cost you on a continual basis.
Agreed. Here's the thing, to Peter's point, this is what the Steelers set in motion by saying, we'll be patient, you take your time. I don't think it makes logical sense to now say, hey, minicamp's coming, let's draw a line in the sand, because the message you've given him is take your time.
But how much time?
He's not on the
This is
Steelers
a lot of time. I know that.
Steeler. He doesn't. They can't dictate this.
No, but you talked about moving on. So that's why I'm suggesting you call up Atlanta and you say, let's have a conversation about Kirk Cousins.
The money, too. That Kirk is owed a lot of money, guaranteed money this year. If you're gonna say, if we're gonna wait for one aging quarterback, I'll wait for Aaron Rodgers. Otherwise, Omar Khan said we will have 4 quarterbacks when training camp comes. It may not be Kirk Cousins. It may be somebody else. It just might not be the high-profile guy that we're thinking.
They seem to have not set a breaking point.
Right.
And that is the thing that it's going to wind up putting them in a position that really doesn't allow them to compete at a level they want to compete at.
Final word.
The Cousins situation makes a lot of sense on paper. We discussed this in the production meeting. It's Tomlin are as thick as thieves. Those guys, if there was a conversation that could be done, Arthur Smith worked for that organization, didn't end on horrible terms. They could have a conversation. I just don't think the Steelers are really pushing that, and I don't think Cousins is either.
We'll see. They're OTAs, they're mandatory camp. Legendarily, the one that Aaron Rodgers was in Egypt for last year is next week.